Hello and welcome to Quarrelsome Rhinoceros Stitches, episode number 39. My name is Monica. I'm the host. You can find me around the internet as Quarrelsome Rhino, pretty much everywhere now. Um, you can find me on Twitter, though, as Monica E. Mulligan. The rest of everywhere else I should be called Quarrelsome Rhino by this point. Welcome. This is the first episode that I can say that we are affiliated with Rhinobot Studios. It is a project that my friends and I have put together that is a podcast network where we just kind of help each other make new podcasts and spread some good feelings around. And we also make some podcasts together as well. So I have another podcast. It's called In Nature, where I walk around outside and give you my view of what's around me and talk about the things that I see and hear while I'm on nature walks. And it gives you a little bit of an idea of what Maine is like. I will go to other locations and film episodes, but of course I live in Maine, and so it's easy for me to go drive an hour and go to Camden and show you where that is and things like that. So if you're interested in that, it is In Nature Podcast on YouTube. I will put a link down in the description box below. The only other real change is that all of my show notes are going to be found over on our website, rhinobot.net. You'll be able to find things that I link there. I will put the link down in the description box below, and I will still be leaving sort of little notes in the description box below the video, but most of the actual show notes will be over on rhinobot.net. So yeah, so I'm really excited about this transition. We have finally officially launched our website, and we are still working on a couple of accessibility things. So like alt text for our images, we're still working on things like that. But the website is still fairly readable and well. We also appreciate any feedback if you want to give it to us. I do mention that because very recently Ravelry updated their website, and I will talk a little bit more about that at the end of the podcast. I wanted to go over a couple of posts that I made on Instagram yesterday, I believe. I wanted to sort of touch base on those things that I posted yesterday and talk a little bit about why I posted them and where my podcast and my brand is going from here. Specifically, my posts were about the immigration system in the United States, and about Black Lives Matter, and about Ravelry. Those three things really have hit hard in the month of June, and I haven't felt like I've been able to actually speak to any of those things before I did my research and before I did a little bit of soul searching. So I will talk about that closer to the end of the episode. I do want to get into the knitting content now. I guess, hello, welcome if you're new. Thanks for joining me. This episode may be out of order and kind of all over the place. I am sorry about that, but that's how my life is right now. I started an internship about halfway through May, and it's been pretty hectic for me lately, but I finally sort of gotten into the routine of Monday through Friday job, where I get weekends to myself, so I'm able to actually sort of do the things that I want to do on the weekend. Actually on a weekend. So, anyway, thank you so much for checking out my podcast. If you are new, thanks so much for stopping in. I hope you enjoy all of the knitting content that I have and enjoy my weird ramblings, because they happen quite a lot. So welcome. Thank you so much for checking me out. And if you're coming back, thank you so much for all of your support, and I love you all equally. You're wonderful. So I've almost done 40 episodes of this podcast, which is crazy to me. I realized this time that I don't have a whole lot to share. I've got about 4 projects that I'm working on currently. And when I say working on, I mean I haven't really knit a stitch in about a week. Which is why it's taken a little bit longer to produce another episode. And also I wanted to make sure that I felt in a place where I could creatively actually produce a product that I'm happy with recording or happy with releasing. So, yeah. So this is obviously a knitting podcast. Knitting podcast. You can see all of the yarn behind me. It's a knitting podcast where I knit, I crochet, I do all kinds of crafty things, and I like to share my progress on those. It's a little way of holding myself accountable while also being able to share the things that I create, because not very many people get to see all of my knitted creations. A lot of them I honestly just wear around the house because I'm happy that I knit them. Anyway, I'm having a little bit of a problem breathing this morning. I've already used my inhaler about twice. I'm not really sure. I'm not sick. I have been very careful about who I come in contact with, and I am in contact with many less people than I was before. Many fewer people. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm in contact with only about 4 people right now. So really, my chances of contracting a virus is very little. I think it is just asthma because it is a little bit humid outside. It is trying to rain. It is Monday, June 29th. I have gotten the day off because of the rain. And I will talk a little bit about that when I talk about my internship after the knitting. So, I do record this in Bangor, Maine, where I live. This is my living room, this corner of my living room that has all of my yarn in it. So that's where we're coming to you from. This is my ball winder. I almost hit my head on it just now. Yeah, so this is the most comfortable place for me to podcast from in this apartment. It was really difficult to actually find place to record in this apartment because it is so small. It was either this or my couch, and my couch is, I'm more likely to slouch and curl up on my couch, and that's not really a good look or not a very good posture for my back for about an hour while I go over my knitting projects. Although this episode may be a little bit shorter depending on how rambly I get at the end. So I'm going to start with a couple of projects that you guys have already seen. So I may talk a little bit about some social issues in the middle of here because of one of the projects I'm working on, but first I will share with you the Kex scarf. So this is a pattern by Stephen West. It is a really cool slip stitch pattern. It is, I'm doing it out of Cascade 220, and it is a present for my husband. So I found this pattern through the Pin Feathers and Pearls podcast. She knit this scarf ages and ages and ages ago, and I had to go back through her old episode catalog because I forgot the name of it. But I knew this was the scarf that I wanted to knit for my husband. So he really wanted it to just be yellow and gray, and I decided I would put some red in it because I have 2 balls of this red Cascade. So yeah, so it is a fairly wide scarf. This is the front side. You can see the slip stitches running up the back, or up the front. This would be traditionally the front, which is why I said the back. So yeah, this is made out of Cascade 220 in 3 different colors. So it's a red, a yellow, and a charcoal gray. I cannot remember the names of the colors or the numbers. I don't think that I have the ball bands here. I don't. I stuck them somewhere. Not gonna dig through them right now. So this is knit on a 5.5 millimeter needle, and I am finished with the first, so there's vertical slip stitch sections as well as horizontal ones. So you do turn and work side to side with these on this few stitches back and forth this way. And it just creates kind of a nice, like, interest to the eye, I guess. I'm really excited about finishing this project so that I can block it and see what it'll look like once it's blocked, because I think I'm going to like it way more once it is. There is also an edging. I believe it's just like maybe 4 or 5 rows of garter stitch all the way around the outside edge, and that I'm really excited for because I'd like this to lay flat as much as possible. I don't want my husband to have to wash this scarf very often to get it to lay flat and look nice, so I'm hoping that the garter stitch will actually help with that. So that is living in my owl bag because it is very bulky, or at least the yarn that I'm using, because I'm using 3 different colors of yarn all at the same time. It's kind of bulky to keep in any other bag. So there's that. I love that this is by 3 Bags Full Studio, and it's a Maine-based company. They sell bags at my local yarn store in Belfast, which for those who live in Maine, Belfast isn't really local to Bangor, but it is the closest yarn store that I like to shop at. So there is that. It's got a cute little zipper pull on it. I've had this bag for ages and ages. My grandmother got it for me as a present for Christmas or my birthday or something like that. She tends to give me things either from that yarn store or gift cards to that yarn store because she knows that I love buying yarn. So that is my work in progress. The last time you saw it, it was before the sideways slip stitch section. I don't remember if I shared it on the last podcast or if I shared it on the podcast before, but that is, I haven't really been working on that one solely. I've started a new project, maybe 2 new projects since the last episode. But yeah, so what I've been giving most of my attention to, though, is my own design. So I'm finally in a spot where I feel like I'm able to work on my own pattern and actually finish the sample so that I can publish the pattern. So this is the rockweed shawl. You may notice the name has changed. So this is, I've shown it to you before, so it's got this garter section at the one end, and then it increases to be a wrap, just sort of a fixed width, and it's got this striping section. It's got a little bit of lace, and then I'm doing a big garter section in the center, and then I'll do another section of this lace, the stripes, and then go back down into a point on the other side. So it is more like a wrap, so it's a rockweed wrap. So this used to be called the Beneath the Black Lake shawl. And I have decided that I don't really want to associate my pattern with Harry Potter or J.K. Rowling at all. If you don't know about what she's come out and said on Twitter, I will let you Google it. But I have no tolerance for people who exclude members of the community. So, that is basically what I'm going to say about that. As much as I love Harry Potter and it has brought a lot of joy and comfort to my life, I can't in good conscience continue to support that franchise. So, and I know that it has sort of, it's taken on its own life since J.K. Rowling wrote the books, but honestly, I'm at a point where I can't separate the art from the artist, and I can't just ignore the fact that she has terrible, horrible social views, and that's it. I just can't. So, and ignore that just so that I can enjoy a piece of fiction is not something that I am able to do. So this shawl is my own design. I have changed the name. So it is the rockweed shawl, and it still reminds me of seaweed, and the greens and blues in here remind me of the color of rock, or sort of the greens and yellows in there remind me of the color of rockweed. It is a nice seaweed that we have around here, and so it can just be a Maine-inspired shawl instead. And I'm perfectly happy with that. I am really enjoying this knit. Of course, I am not a big fan of knitting in fingering weight yarn. It is taking quite a long time. But I am really enjoying getting some sort of just mindless knitting on this garter stitch section. I believe the last time I showed it to you, I was about halfway through the third lace repeat. There are 6 lace repeats total, and I just decided, I was like, it needs to be broken up somehow. So I decided I would add just another regular garter stitch section. What I'm contemplating is doing a row of eyelets and then doing and making that the exact center of the shawl, and then repeating this same number of garter stitch rows on the other side of those eyelets before I move back into the lace section, the stripe section, and then the last garter section. But we'll see. I haven't decided yet, which is why I haven't made any more progress on it. I am hoping to use the rest of this little ball of yarn before I move back on to any lace that I have to do as well. So there's that. Though that is being worked on a 4mm, so a US 6 needle. And it is on my ChowGoose. I pretty much exclusively use the ChowGoose. I did have an instance earlier this year where the actual cord fell out of the, sort of broke out of the little screw bit that screws into the needle, but that is the only problem I've ever had with ChowGoose, and I just really love knitting with them. They are fantastic. They are probably pretty much the only needles you'll see me knit with on a regular basis. If I don't have that size of ChowGoo available, I will either buy a new one, or I will, I guess, deign to use another set that I just really don't like very much, which is not a very fun knitting experience, so why bother, in my opinion. I'm doing this for fun. I'm doing this for me. There's no reason for me to struggle with it, because it's supposed to be my fun hobby that I really enjoy doing. And another one of my hobbies is casting on new projects, because apparently I cannot help myself. So I haven't printed out this pattern, so I can't tell you, I can't show you the pattern itself, but I have started an Aria shawl, which is a pattern by Amber O'Brien. I will find out if she sells her patterns anywhere other than Ravelry, and I will give you a link to that. As of right now, I am not linking anyone to Ravelry in my show notes or in my own, for my own patterns. I'm not doing that right now. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when I'm done talking about the knitting. So the Aria shawl is a side-to-side triangle shawl. It has eyelets and slip stitch sections. I have such a hard time saying those words. So yes, so it has slip stitch sections that are really fun. And I had 2 skeins of Malabrigo in, and I thought they were both the same weight, but I think I am mistaken. So I may not have enough yarn for this pattern, but I'm gonna keep trying, as it is. What is that? Oh, I dropped a stitch. Weird. So anyway, I guess without further ado, here is the shawl. So it is absolutely gorgeous. I am really, really loving how this yarn and the blue is sort of playing off each other. There is some dark blue. Ooh, sorry. There is some dark blue in the colorful yarn as well, but you can't really. I thought there was more of it when it was in the skein. or in the hank, I thought there was more of that dark blue in the yarn itself, but there really isn't. I'm not sad about that though, because I absolutely love the contrast between this really bright, wonderfully fun colored yarn to this dark blue. I know this one is called Chameleon and this one is called Wales Road, and I just love this yarn. Every single time I walk by any Malabrigo, I want to pick it up and take it home with me. I love the color variation. I love how these two yarns are playing off of each other. I just absolutely love this pattern as well. I love all of Amba O'Brien's patterns. This one is particularly well written and well laid out because it is in sort of a chart that you've not a chart like a eyelet chart, a lace chart, but it's in like columns, and it's like an Excel sheet, but it's really easy to read. It's very difficult to explain that. The alternating rows are colored differently, or like shaded, and it's really easy to figure out exactly where you are in the pattern and figure out how much you have left and how many stitches you're supposed to have, and it has like a specific column for it. It's perfect. I love the way this pattern is written, and I love how it's laid out. So I definitely recommend Amba O'Brien's patterns, even if you don't want to knit this particular pattern. Although you do get 2 patterns for one if you buy this one. So it's the Aria and the Zaria shawl, I believe. So one is fingering weight, one is DK. I chose to knit the DK. I believe that my Wales Road is Malabrigo's worsted weight base. I don't think that it is the DK weight base. So I may not have enough yarn for this, but if worse comes to worse, I will just go find another Wales Road skein and I will continue the shawl. I mean, it's not really going to matter much. I do have quite a bit of the skein left, but yeah, I noticed, I was like, this feels a little bit more plump than the Chameleon yarn, and it is because it is a different weight. So yeah, they're different bases, because I think this one is the Rios, and then this one is Arroyo, probably. But yeah, I think those are the right names for the bases. Anyway, I really love the eyelet pattern. I really love the slip stitches. This section here makes me very happy. Just those pops of dark blue in the middle of all of that color just makes me so happy. And so working on this has been really nice. I've been using this as sort of like my D&D knitting. I haven't been playing a whole lot of D&D lately. But when I do play D&D, this is my go-to knit because it keeps me, I can sort of watch what's going on, but still have something really interesting to do with my hands instead of just knitting on a plain sock. It's really difficult for me to keep going on one of those if I'm not really in the mood to knit a sock. So yeah, I can't remember if I showed that project on the podcast last time, but I think it's a new cast on. I don't remember. But yeah, so that's living in my little llamas bag that I got as a present from someone on Instagram during the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted, because I needed some more bags. My bags were a little bit worse for wear, and I didn't really have my sewing machine in a place where I could make my own, and I just received this lovely gift around Christmas time last year. And it has had a project in it constantly since then, so that is great. I don't have the tag for this next project. Oh, did I tell you what needles? I don't know if I told you what needles those ones were on. Let me just double check. I believe it is, whoop, there's my needle. Again, a Chaogu 4.5 millimeter needle. I believe it is, I think in the pattern it may be a 5 millimeter needle and I went down a size, but I'm not sure. So, I am also knitting a hat for my mother. My mom, when she was here in December, picked out a skein of yarn. My grandmother bought it for her, and I get to make the hat. So, So this is also another Malabrigo, I believe. I cannot remember the name of the colorway. I do know it is the fingering weight base. It is the Malabrigo sock. And it is this really beautiful over-dyed skein. So it's got all of these speckles of wonderful color. A lot of them are like oranges and reds, but there also are some blues, some teals, a couple of places where it looks a little bit pinkish and purplish, and then it looks like it's been over-dyed black, and I absolutely love this skein of yarn. I don't think this skein of yarn is going to be completely eaten up by the hat. I might have a little bit of extra, but I'm not really sure what I would do with just a little bit extra of this yarn, especially because it is fingering weight. I need to make sure next time my mother picks out hat yarn that it is not fingering weight, because I have a really hard time finding patterns that I like for hats in fingering weight, and I don't want to knit another sock head because I've knit one of those for her before. I've actually knit 2 sock heads, and the one I knit for her is great, and I loved it, but also I got very tired of it very quickly. It is too repetitive for me. It's kind of like knitting a sock, and I haven't been really doing that. So I've lost my interest in socks. I have so many bigger projects that I want to work on that knitting socks right now kind of feels like a waste of time. So, especially because it is summer and I don't wear socks. I guess that's not fair. I do wear socks in the summer because I have to wear socks every day for work because I need to wear tall boots because I'm walking around in wetlands. But I don't wear hand knit socks in the field because I don't want them to get ruined. So, I will talk a little bit about what I'm actually doing for my internship when I'm done talking about the knitting. I only have one project left, and I've got a couple of acquisitions that I want to talk about, but they're not knitting related. So we went antiquing yesterday. So anyway, so here is the little hat that I am working on. This is the Harlow hat from Andrea Mowry. And so it's a little bit of brioche. You can't really see much difference, obviously. It is normally a 2-color brioche shawl or hat. I am knitting it 1-color brioche because I only have 1 color to use. Anyway, I'm knitting 1-color brioche. I'm basically just doing it the same, just using the same yarn for the purl and the knit side of brioche stitch. So I am maybe halfway done with the brim, which is a silly place to show it. I should have waited and given you a little bit more, but at least it's past the cast on. Because I know I've cast on a project and immediately showed it on the podcast. I'm like, this looks like nothing. It just looks like a circle of knitting. Like, like, this is a circle of cast on. Have fun. Like, anyway. So this is a really simple to follow pattern. It's very easy. I love the end result, and I will actually probably knit this hat again, but in 2-color brioche. I do have a couple of skeins of fingering weight yarn like this one and like some grays here that might look really good with that, given that treatment. But yeah, so I have some skeins that maybe would look good with this in a hat like this. So I'm hoping that I can get some more progress on this so that my mom can have this hat maybe by this winter. Probably not. I still have my grandmother's hat over here that I haven't gifted to her yet. She doesn't need it. She's in Ohio. She doesn't need it. All right. Especially not right now. It's hot. Sorry, I keep kicking my stupid tripod. I'm not really sure why. Okay, so that is the Harlow hat. It is being knit on a something 2.75 millimeter needle right now, and then I'll move up to a 3 millimeter needle for the body of the hat. This is just the brim cast on is done in a smaller needle, so it stays a little bit more dense and will not stretch out quite as quickly. So the body of the hat is done in a little bit bigger needle. And And yeah, so there's that. I really, really enjoy this pattern. I love how Andrea Mowry writes her patterns. Honestly, a well-written pattern is better than any innovative design that you have, honestly. I would rather follow a boring pattern where you only have like one stitch the whole time if it is well written. Anyway, that's just my opinion, which is what you're here for. So really, I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. Oh goodness. So those are all of the knitting things that I have to share. I haven't cast on any new sweaters. I still haven't cast on the Telegram sweater that I want to make with that. I have many plans for knitting, but unfortunately life has sort of taken its toll in the last month and I haven't really gotten very much done. But you know what? I'm trying to take it easy on myself because I've had a lot going on. So yesterday we went antiquing and I found a couple of really cool things that I wanted to share. I found a couple of books that I could have bought on Amazon for a lot more expensive than I bought them. I also found a book that I haven't been able to find for a really, really long time. So I've been looking for, I've been looking for one of these books for a long time and it's out of print, so it's hard to find. I also found a couple of field guides. So this is a Peterson field guide for mushrooms. So I'm a super duper nerd. Like, I collect field guides because I think they're really cool. This one was published in 1978. Nope, 1987. Sorry. A little bit of dyslexia this morning. 1987, and mushrooms don't change very much. I mean, I guess they kind of do, but not whether they're edible or not, because that's what this book has. It has whether they're edible or not, which I find is really interesting. Some of the comments are like edible and generally considered one of the best stocks. They'll say like edibility, poisonous. So maybe don't eat those. Let's see. There's also edibility, not recommended. Some people can eat them, but there are reports of mild to severe poisoning, particularly after eating large quantities or repeated meals of this mushroom over several days. So use great caution. Anyway, so I find it really fascinating that there's like there are eating guides to mushrooms. I also find the drawings really, really fascinating as well. It's one of those things that I kind of want to get my watercolor paints out and draw some of these mushrooms. But yeah, so I really enjoyed looking through this, and so I bought it because if I bought it on Amazon or something, it probably would have been like $25 to $30. Generally, it's like suggested retail price is about $16. So and it depending on where I could even find this, I probably couldn't even find this model of it anyway. I would have had to find a different one. This Peterson field guide, I'm sure it's been updated and whatever, but I still think that the information in it is really good, and I will be able to use it for art at least, if not for actually looking at mushroom or sort of fungi specimen as well. So I'm really excited about that. The next one that I got was published in, it is another field guide. It was published in, I literally just looked at this and then forgot. This one was copyright 1978. So this is the 1978 one. This is the Audubon Field Guide for Rocks and Minerals of North America. So rocks and minerals definitely don't change very much. So I definitely felt comfortable getting this one. It has some really, really great color photos of different minerals and rocks. I'm really excited to dive deeper into this book and read a little bit more. It has so many pictures and it tells you what page they have information about them on in the picture. So it says Barite page 455, so you can go into page 455 and look at the actual data about that species. Look at me. 455. So barite, and that's up at the top. It says barite right there, and then it gives you barium sulfate, small amounts of strontium. So, and then it gives you its chemical sort of formula here, and then it tells you what color, it gives you its hardness, and other kind, like what environments it grows in, where it occurs, and things like that. So it gives you a lot of really good information about the minerals that you're looking for or looking up. So it's really, really cool. And this one, I don't know if it actually has its suggested retail price on it, but it probably was a lot of money. And I got it for $8. So like at least probably less than half of what it would sell for on the internet, or to get a new one. But yeah, I really, really, really love this. I mean, I love the Audubon Society field guides in general, but I really, really like this one because I love those color pictures. And it's in really, really good condition. So I am really happy I found that. So yeah, when I go to antique stores, I look for field guides because I'm a dork. It's one of the reasons that I'm going into the right field, because I keep trying to get new field guides for the things that I want to study. So yeah. I also found, the one that I found that was out of print is Country of the Pointed Firs. So this is Sarah Orton Jewett is an author who, I don't actually know if it has anything about her in this book. Oh, there we go. So she was born in South Berwick, and she spent almost all of her life there, and she wrote this collection of stories. And it's really about living in Maine, and it's really awesome. So she was born in 1849, and she died in 1909. So she has many collections of short stories written, and this is one that I have been looking for a really long time. This particular book was published in 1956, I want to say. 1956. So this was published 1956, and I am really, really looking forward to tucking into this book. She has a really, really great way with words already. I've read only a couple of blurbs from the inside, but I really like her sort of turn of phrase, and yeah. It's a really hard book to find. I looked on Amazon when I first heard about it, and I couldn't find it because it is out of print. And I just sort of walked by this huge line of books, and it jumped out at me, so I couldn't say no to it. And it was only I think this one was only $10, so really, really good find. I'm very, very excited to tuck into this book. And I actually have time to read now, which is something that is fascinating to me still. Most of the time the only time I have to read is when I'm reading textbooks or when I'm reading scientific journal articles for writing papers. But I love when I actually get to tuck into a real book and read. I'm very, very excited to read that. So I'm so happy that I found it. And the last thing that I'll share, I did find a little tea box, but I have that in my kitchen because I've already put tea in it. It's just like this little square box that has tea emblazoned on it, or it has like little gold lettering on it. I am probably going to refinish it because it needs a little bit of love, but it was cheap and it was cool, so I wanted it. And the last thing I bought was a new purse for myself. So we went to an antique store in Ellsworth, Maine, and it is called the Dreamcatcher, and it is fantastic. It's wonderful. It is, I think there's 3 floors, and it's an old funeral home, I think. I can't remember what it used to be, but it is absolutely full of really, really cool antiques, and not even really long ago antiques. Like they've got a bunch of CDs and a bunch of like VHSs and like some old video game cartridges that were really cool. And there are one of the booths has a collection of Magic cards, or Magic the Gathering cards, and yeah, so it's really, really, really cool. There's just all kinds of stuff. And like basically the way it works is you rent a booth from the store and you can sell whatever you want in it. And part of it too is that you can find handmade items as well. And that's what I found. So I found a handmade purse out of it looks like an old sort of sack, or maybe it's just a print. I can't even tell. Don't even care. It's an old like perfumery bag. And it's this really, really thick linen fabric, and the inside is this really cute blue and white striped. There are a couple of pockets in here as well. It's very hard to show on the podcast. There we go. So there's a zipper pocket and also a couple of open pockets as well. And I think this is going to be really, really good for me because right now I'm using a really small purse that doesn't really fit a whole lot. And it's kind of hard to get that. Yeah, it's just hard to not have a purse that doesn't fit everything you want to carry. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about using this purse, and I love the leather handles. They're really, really soft leather. I'm not really sure if it actually is real leather or not. It doesn't really feel like it, but I'm okay with that. And I got this for about $20, maybe $25, I can't remember. But it was wonderful, and I am very, very pleased with this find. So I can't wait to actually use it. I knew I was recording a podcast this morning, so I didn't want to, want to put all of my stuff in it yesterday, but I will put it in today because I do have places I need to go today. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And that, I believe, is the last thing that I have to share as far as my my finds and my knitting for this episode. If you don't want to stick around and listen to my ramblings about my life, then I thank you so much for watching the rest of my podcast and where I ramble about my knitting. But the last section of my podcast this time, I'm going to be talking about some heavy topics. So, oh man. So the last month has been really rough for me and my little family. So I did start my internship, and that is really awesome. I have 2 internships this summer, and I'm getting so much practice in the field, and I'm really enjoying myself. I have found some of it to be really difficult for me, particularly because of asthma and because I'm not really in as good shape as I want to be. So, but I did start off the summer with the wrong boots, which can just throw off your whole summer. So, my 2 internships, one of them is bird behavior, which is seabird behavior. We're monitoring seabirds and colonial birds with water birds with a drone and writing down their behavior. That one is really cool. It's really fun. You have to wake up really early in the morning to bird, just if you wondered. The other project is we're looking at groundwater dependent ecosystems, and so we hike to these remote places in forests and take soil sample and measure water pH and conductance and stuff like that. But we also identify plants in the area. We take plants for pressings, and it's pretty fun. That is the one where I feel like I'm just not in the right shape. I need to do a little bit more exercise on my own time in order to feel like I'm in the sort of physical condition to hike around in the forest. I did use the wrong boots for a good portion of the summer. I was using some boots that were way too short and sunk into a bog, water in my boot all the way up to my knee. It was bad, and I hurt my hip. And since then it's been really difficult. But I bought a new pair of boots that go all the way up to my calf, which is great. I'm very excited about that. I can't wait to get back in the field and use those. But because weather is really important for both of the projects, when it is rainy, we can't work. So that's kind of unfortunate, but we need rain. It's been a really bad drought for this year so far. So, um, and about halfway through May, which is why I haven't podcasted in a long time, is because I've been focused on this internship. And also, halfway through May, we learned, my husband and I learned that our visa paperwork got denied. And he had been living here with me since before our wedding, and we've been waiting for this paperwork for about 4 months, and instead of requesting additional documentation like they should have, they just denied the case because that's their right. They can do whatever they want. They make up the rules. So they denied his case, and he had to go back to New Zealand. And that has been a really, really difficult transition for us as a newlywed couple. It is very difficult for me in particular because he was so helpful around the house while I was out at work, because he wasn't able to work while we were waiting for the paperwork. So he was around the house helping me to get meals together for the next day, and just and cooking dinner when I didn't feel like existing. So it was really helpful to have him around and like to not be alone for once. But yeah, so he's back in New Zealand, and we will figure out where to go from here and keep trucking, keep going. There are a lot of couples who sort of lose hope at this point and find it really difficult to keep going. But honestly, my husband and I have had a long distance relationship from the start. And being together in person was fantastic, but we know how to make long distance relationships work. So obviously, because we're married now. So, yeah, we are absolutely going to make it work, regardless of what that means for the future, whether he comes here, I go there, whatever. So, don't worry about that. I was really looking forward to having him on the podcast, but I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. Obviously, because of restrictions like he's in New Zealand. So, yeah, anyway. That is what happened about halfway through May. We were getting ready for him to leave when the murder of George Floyd happened. And I felt disheartened and sort of alienated from my own country, basically. And it sort of reignited my desire to look into or to research white supremacy and learn how I can be a better person. I wanted to go to protests, and I am sad that I didn't. But I have a few reasons why I can't go to protests. Part of it is I have really high-risk members of my family that I don't want to risk, and I still want to be able to see them. I also, at that point, we had already found out that my husband had to leave. And until he left, he was technically not supposed to be in the country anymore. And so they could have deported him if anything bad happened at the protests in my area, which they didn't. It was peaceful. It was wonderful. I watched so many live streams of it while it was happening, and I watched some recorded video of it after, and it was wonderful, and I wish that I could have gone. I want to state for my podcast, for any of my listeners, anyone who is listening, that this podcast is a safe space, and I value the members of our community that are BIPOC. Like, obviously, I wish that it wasn't something that I had to state out loud. I wish that it was something that was a given, that everyone just knew. But I realize I haven't posted very much on my social media about the Black Lives Matter movement. I realize that it may be difficult to trust someone who hasn't really spoken up until now. And I think part of this is me learning as much as wanting to be an ally and to be anti-racist. And I think a lot of work had to be done in my personal space before I was able to share what I have read and what I try to understand at large. So this has been a deeply personal journey for me, which it should be. It should be a deeply personal journey, and you shouldn't be posting on social media about it if you aren't willing to do the work when you're done posting, because it is not just about getting attention. It is not just about it shouldn't be about getting attention, and that's what it seems to be for some people in the spotlight, I guess, in social media. So I am not waving an inclusivity flag. I will absolutely moderate every single comment that I get on anything that I post ever. And I think that white people should do more research and do more soul searching about how white supremacy has benefited you. Whether you're a white supremacist or not, it has benefited you. And it has certainly benefited me. There's no way, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. My husband is Maori, and he was helping me put my air conditioner in sometime in the beginning of June or the middle of May. I can't remember. So my air conditioner is in this window here. He went outside to hold the air conditioner in the window while I seated it properly. And he goes, "Oh, here's where I get arrested." And it opened my eyes to the kinds of things that he worries about, being in America and being of a darker skin tone. And that experience kind of stuck in my mind and made me realize exactly how much my husband worries about that. So anyway, it's been a long, I mean, this isn't the first time I've dove into this particular subject matter. It is the first time I have talked about it on my podcast, and it definitely won't be the last. I'm not waving some inclusivity flag that I want you to see and go, "Oh, look, she's so inclusive." What I want you to get from this is that it's never too late to learn something new. Speaking as a non-traditional student who went back to school at 26 years old, or went to school for the first time at 26 years old. It's never too late to start learning. And honestly, the BIPOC members of this community and of the Black Lives Matter movement in general have done the work for you already. There are so many resources online that you can go and literally Google search for clarity and for like anything you think you need to direct message a person of color about. You can probably Google it and find the answer and not invade their space and make them hurt even more. They've done the work already, and we don't really deserve it, but they have done it, and you should respect that and actually look up your own do your own research. Anyway, that's the preaching section of my podcast this week. And on the subject of inclusivity, I am livid with Ravelry right now. I have taken down all of the links to Ravelry I had on my Instagram page. I am not telling you that you should go and buy my patterns on Ravelry anymore. I will find a different platform to sell my patterns on, because I am thoroughly sick and tired of the gaslighting that is going on about their new website design. They have caused 7, at my last count, seizures because of the new design, because they weren't thoughtful enough to look at whether or not their site was actually accessible by their community. I am a person who suffers from migraines. I have a pair of pink tinted glasses that I wear for it when I have to use technology, but I'm feeling like I'm getting a migraine. I have suffered from migraines since I was a teenager, and I don't really know all of my triggers. I won't say that Ravelry caused a migraine for me this week, but I know that I spent less time browsing the site than I normally do. I checked fewer of the groups that I'm in. I didn't want anything to do with the new site and the new look. Even switching back to the old look of Ravelry, it still was not really good. And part of that is because they've closed all of their feedback threads and have they've posted a useless blog post of, oh well, our registrations are up and pattern sales are up, and this community is growing faster than ever, and it's wonderful, and everyone loves our new look. Well, everyone doesn't love your new look. About 7 people who had seizures definitely don't love your new look. And honestly, even one person having a seizure is too many. Um, from looking at a website when it's really easy. And speaking as someone who literally just designed a website, and who has done this for years, I learned to code style sheets when I was a teenager. And I have been designing websites since I was 18 or 19 years old. I think I may have been like 15 or 16 when I started learning how to code. I remember being on Neopets, and like your pet pages, you were able to put HTML in them. And so I learned how to do that because I needed to have a HTML page that looked great. Like, I needed to know how to do that. So I taught myself how to do that because of that website. And so speaking as someone who has done it for years and years and years, more than a decade of my life I've spent designing and fixing style sheets. I've never really seen a website affect people so much, and the creators of that website just not caring. So I'm kind of done with them. Especially because they say, oh well, we have a really small design team and they worked really hard on this this new look for our website. That's great. My design team is 2 people. I'm the one who does the coding, and I have one other person that does the graphics and also helps with things like, this thing doesn't look right, can you fix it? Like, she's like my partner in crime when it comes to website design, and we're good at it. And it takes one Google search to look and see if your site is accessible to a majority of people. And the only place that I found on our site that wasn't, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, there is an alt text on a lot of the images, and I will go in and fix that. But as far as I know, our website is good to look at. Like, it's not going to cause anyone seizures. I'm sorry. Okay. I don't feel comfortable sending anyone to Ravelry right now. I don't know what I'm going to do for the show notes for any of the projects that I've shared or anything like that. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. I will, however, come up with a solution. I will find a way to show you the patterns. If I can't link them directly, I will share a picture of what the final object looks like, or what the picture looks like, instead of sharing the actual link to Ravelry, because I don't want to send anyone there. I've taken all of the links down on my Instagram, and if you have bought, this is what I actually wanted to get at. If you have purchased one of my patterns, the Starfruit Beanie, or the Amatenlik shawl, or the Tempest shawl, the Amatenlik shawl is the one that I get the most. But if you have purchased that from me and you don't want to go to Ravelry to download it right now, and you don't have a copy of it, please, please, please reach out to me. It is quarrelsomerhino@gmail.com. Honestly, send me an email. That goes directly to my phone. I will see it, and I will be able to send you a copy. Just give me your Ravelry username, I will send you a copy of the pattern, the PDF, and we'll find a way to move forward from here. And if you do want to purchase any of my patterns, I will either start selling them through, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I may put them up on Etsy. I might end up making my own website, but it is a lot for a very small volume of pattern sales. I probably sell one every 6 months. Like, it's really not a whole lot of revenue coming in from my knitting patterns at this point, because I haven't put that much effort into them. So not to the patterns themselves, but effort into marketing myself. I honestly haven't had time to devote to that lately, so I haven't been. But if you do want to purchase any of the patterns that I have, I will find a way to put them on the new website on rhinobot.net, so that I can at least find a way to get you the pattern if you want it. And until Ravelry changes their mind about what inclusivity means, I am not going to be using their website. I don't like the attitude that, oh, well, most people like our new look, and it just doesn't work for some people. That is the whole point of being inclusive, is that you are not marginalizing those people who are already always marginalized. And your pattern sales are up on your website because we're trying to support our creators during this really, really tough time. It's not that there's something you're doing that is marketing these patterns to us. We are trying to support the creators that we care about and believe in. And your registrations are up 180% over last year, because last year you turned off registrations at this time of year. So why are you bragging about the fact that you have more registrations than last year? So anyway, that is my 2 cents, whether you wanted it or not. I am so sorry this has been rambling, but I think it was absolutely necessary for me to go into all of the things. And if you want a written version of all of these things, you can find them on my Instagram. Again, it's Quarrelsome Rhino. I wrote 3 posts yesterday. I actually wrote them a few days ago. I posted 3 things yesterday, and if you want to, you can go in and look at all 3 posts. They're going to have the same information that I've just given to you right now. But I am just, I'm kind of fed up with a lot of things. So, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. And if you have not enjoyed this episode, it was necessary. I made this for me as much as I made it for you. So, yes, thank you so much for spending your time with me. I know our time is so valuable lately, and it is hard to find respite from everything that is going on, but honestly, we shouldn't shy away from it. So, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you again very soon in my next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!
This show is a member of the Rhinobot Studios family. For more information, including show listings, team member bios, social media links, and our community Discord, please visit rhinobot.net.